ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. So from today, for our next couple of discussions, I'll be giving you a lot of insights into what Ashtanga Yoga is. So Ashtanga Yoga is one of the most widely practiced path of yoga at this particular point of time in Kali Yuga, where we live right now. So where is Ashtanga Yoga? Where does it come from? Who wrote about it? What is it all about? This is what I'm going to be discussing the next couple of discussions. So we have one main text which is widely referred to in this particular day, called as Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which we consider as one of the prime texts of yoga. So Patanjali is the sage who wrote the Maharshi, not just a sage. Maharshi, we call him as Maharshi Patanjali. Maha means, he's a well-renowned sage. Maharshi Patanjali wrote the text of Yoga Sutras, which contains everything that you have to know with respect to yoga. So in this text of yoga, which is in the form of sutras or aphorisms or formulas, Patanjali explained numerous different paths of yoga that one can follow to reach the state of emancipation or realization or unification with one own self. So this last state of unification within oneself is what is called as Kaivalya. Kaivalya is the last state of your journey on the path of yoga. So in this text of yoga, Patanjali talks about Ashtanga Yoga from the 29th sutra onwards in the second chapter. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra has 4 different chapters, or what we call as padas, namely the Samadhi Pada, Sadhana Pada, Vibhuti Pada and the Kaivalya Pada. So Ashtanga Yoga is explained from the 29th sutra onwards in the second chapter of the Sadhana Pada. What is Ashtanga Yoga? What does the word Ashtanga itself mean? Ashta means 8 in Sanskrit. Anga means part part. Ashta Anga means 8 different parts. So there are 8 different steps for you to reach that state of realization within oneself. Hence it is called as Ashtanga. Ashta Anga, 8 angas, 8 parts, Ashta Anga, Ashtanga Yoga. So what are these 8 different angas? What are these 8 different parts? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So these are the 8 angas. The 29th sutra goes something like this: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadho, Vashta Vangani. The 29th sutra of the second chapter. So what does this each of the steps mean? What does Yama mean? What does Niyama mean? What does Asana mean? What does Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana mean? Is what we're going to be discussing. And before we get started with the discussion, I want to give you a little bit of insight into what are the individuals who are fit for the path of Ashtanga Yoga. Everyone. It is not just confined to one, or it's very common these days, people having misconception that those are only physically strong. I don't know where they came up with this ideology or this thought. So only when you're physically strong you can follow the path of Ashtanga Yoga. That's utter nonsense. I don't know who started this, but you stop it. Okay? Doesn't make any sense. When someone says something like that, you laugh at their face, literally. It's one of the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. It isn't. Ashtanga, every path of yoga has one or the other thing to offer to each and every individual. Now, coming to the first one, what is yama? Yama are what we call as restraints, self-restraints, or what we call as a vow of abstination, or the things that you impose on yourself so that you have control over your own self. So yama are self-restraints that you impose on your own self. See, whenever you start any path of knowledge, not just yoga, there has to be some sense of control, right? You have to say no to a couple of things, you have to say yes to a couple of things. You have to restrain yourself from not getting into one or the other thing, so that you follow on the path that you have chosen. This is what yama is all about. Yama is not the god of death, Yama, no. Yama are the self-restraints. So, in this first part of Ashtanga Yoga, which is yama, you observe certain set of self-restraints so that you control yourself. What are these self-restraints? They are of 5 types. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. These are the 5 yamas. What are the self-restraints that you have to impose on yourself? See, when you're on a path of knowledge, that's going to help you gain deeper insights about your own self, non-violence towards your own self and for the beings around you is very essential. Just because you aren't killing anything, any living organism outside, doesn't make you non-violent. That is one of the qualities of being non-violent. But ahimsa, being non-violent, means the non-violence has to be practiced in speech, thought and action. And while following the path of ahimsa, you shouldn't hurt even yourself with words, thought and action. Just because you're not hurting the other person or the people around you or the environment in terms of words, actions or thought doesn't make you a non-violent person. Only when you implement that for your own self, then it starts to make sense. If you just keep saying, okay, I follow the path of non-violence, I don't hurt anyone, I don't kill anyone, but you end up using bad words that hurt the other person, and you think bad things about them but you don't tell, it doesn't make any difference. You are a non-violent person. Only when the purity is achieved in the thoughts and the words and in the action, that's when you become a non-violent person. This is what yamas yamas are all about. The first step of Ashtanga Yoga. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Yamaha. The 5 yamas. Be non-violent to oneself. Now the second. Satya. What does Satya mean? Satya means being truthful to one's own self. Satya, by default, it means truth. Okay? Even here, you have to be true to who you are. All of you have this inner self in you, whom you know that this and this is who I am, and yet you deviate from being that person and you become someone else to impress or to fit into the norms of the society or whatnot. You have to be true to your own self. You come as one, you go as one. In between, why do you get into this circle of wanting to impress or satisfy people or circumstances or situation? Know the truth first. Know the truth about your own self. And when you do this, when you remain true to yourself, that is when you remain true to everyone. If you keep just telling truth to everyone, but you tell lies to the one who is seated inside you, does it make any sense? No. Satya, the self-restraint, the second self-restraint that you have to apply to your own self, is so that when you're true to yourself, you'll be in peace with yourself. See, I'll tell you one thing. You aren't in you. You are uncomfortable with you because you have lied a lot to your own self over the years. Once you start telling yourself the truth, not just others, you start telling yourself the truth, that's when you start feeling, more comfortable with your presence, or you would have made peace with your own self. The second yama, Satya. And the third one, what is asteya? This is one of the, So the third one is asteya. What is asteya? Asteya means not stealing. You shouldn't steal from others. Yeah, this is most commonly practiced by most of them, at least to a certain extent. But I say you shouldn't steal your own soul. You have to remain true to who you are. See, it's very easy to, just because a person has committed a robbery or stolen something, you can't blame him as a thief. You can, because he has he has performed an action because of which you blamed him. But what about you? Imagine how much time, energy and experiences that you have stolen from your own self from not experiencing it. So you have yourself committed a great level of discomfort to your own self. Asteya, non-stealing, is remaining true to who you are, so that you don't steal your own soul from all the things that it needs to experience in this particular life. Understood? This is what does asteya mean. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, samadhi. These are the 8 angas. Of that, yama is the first one, ahimsa is the first of yamas, satya is the second, asteya is the third. What is the fourth yama? Ahimsa, satya, asteya. Fourth one, brahmacharya. What is brahmacharya? This is most commonly misunderstood or misrepresented word worldwide. Brahmacharya means the one who's on the path of Brahma. Brahma here represents the reality of one's own self. Yes, it also means abstaining from any kind of sexual activities and leading a life of a celibate. You can't be distracted by having all kinds of thoughts that brings you down psychologically, mentally and physically, and focus on higher values, right? It's not possible. It doesn't go hand in hand at all. when you are in this very high state of thinking, wanting to do revolutionary things, bring in big changes, contribute to the society and share your knowledge to the entire world, definitely you won't have the small thoughts of wanting to be sucked into the world of lust and gold. Definitely no. Naturally you'll have very high thoughts. Your mind is fixed on the reality that is there. So brahmacharya means the one whose individual consciousness, Jivatma, is fixed on that reality that is there. What that reality is, you have to find it out. Ahimsa Satya Asteya. Ahimsa Satya Asteya. Aparigraha. Aparigraha is the last of the 5 yamas. What does aparigraha mean? You aren't feeling free right now because you possess a lot of things, and having these things, you have represented yourself saying, okay, this is mine. The thought of belongingness with respect to things that you possess has resulted in you having a lot of possessions, and that possession sits in your head all the time. And once you have this sense of possessing something externally, you would never want to have an inward journey at all. This is as simple as I can put it across. Wanting to have things that pleases your senses will push you far away from your own internal journey. Just accept this blindly. Doesn't matter at all, even if you think about it for 100 years. This is a fact. Aparigraha means living a life of minimalistic. Aparigraha means leading a life of a minimalist. Yeah, that's right. Not possessing those things that causes you to be dragged into this world of whatever you call it, responsibilities, family or society, whatever it is. When you do not have things, you don't have anything to lose, right? The only thing that you have or you think of is your internal journey, nothing else. And that's why the sadhus and the sages have very less things. It's not like a mandatory rule just because I'm a sadhu or I'm a saint that I have to have less things. Naturally, they won't have an inclination towards wanting to have new things. Why? As simple as that. Because their journey is all about going in. They have understood, okay, nothing outside can ever please me to any extent. So they have as many less things as possible. Just a pair of cloths that are there on their body, kamandalu with a small water bottle kind of thing, and a danda, that's it. And they travel in, they travel out, and then they travel in. Minimalistic life. This is a big trend now these days, leading a life of being a minimalistic. There was already been practice, that has been practiced even to this particular day. It's just the approach is different now. So these are the 5 yamas: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Now the second one. What are the niyamas? What are the niyamas? Are also of 5. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Svadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanani, Niyamaha. These are the 5 niyamas. Now, what are niyamas? See, niyamas are the rules that you follow for your own self so that you're able to lead a disciplined life. So, niyamas are like the rules that you implement to your own self to boost your morale and to become who you are meant to be. Mastery over any path of knowledge is not possible without discipline, right? So the niyamas are the disciplinary practices that you understand, accept and implement and follow. These are not imposed by someone else. See, you have to understand, okay, I follow this and this, I'm going to grow. I'm going to go to the next step. This is what niyamas are all about. Disciplinary practices that you have to implement, follow, understand for your own self. So what are these niyamas? First is shaucha, cleanliness. Throwing all the garbage that is there in the place that you are staying and then putting it just outside the door and then dirtying the environment, causing a harm to an environment is not cleanliness. Shaucha, what we call as cleanliness, is cleanliness in the thought, words and action. Any of the words, thought and action that come out of you should never ever cause harm neither to you nor to the other person. Cleaning yourself every single day, taking bath for like hours together doesn't make you clean. Yeah, externally you will be, maybe your skin will shine for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, just applying hours, spending hours together, dressing up. Nah. When you are the shuddhi, the cleanliness, when it comes from inside, it reflects and radiates through your eyes. You don't need anything. Shaucha is the first disciplinary practice in the niyama. What is the second one? Santosha. This is most commonly mistaken as happiness. Santosha is not happiness. Santosha is contentment. Being happy with what you have. I think this is one of the biggest problems the world is facing right now. People are never happy with whatever they have. Why? Because they don't know what they want. As simple as that. Not because they're greed or because they want to impress. See, when you know what is it exactly that you want, you'll never try to impress anyone or even your own self. And once you're content, once you reach the state of contentment and you know what are the things that gives you this state of contentment, you focus only on that, which is the path of reality, knowing about one's own self. And in this journey, you don't need anything other than your own self. But anyway, not everyone has such high state of mind to follow that. But anyway, contentment is, santosha is, contentment. Being happy with what you have, not crying and cribbing for things that are, that's gonna bring absolutely no happiness to you at all. Shaucha, santosha. Now, the third niyama, tapas. Tapas is enthusiasm and the zeal that is needed for you to follow and pursue the path of yoga every single day. Tapas are all the austerities that you do for your own self once you're on the path of sadhana, once you're on the path of yoga. Okay, you're on a path of pursuing something. If you put effort just for 1 or 2 days or once in a week or once in 3 days, you won't reach there, right? Persistent effort by acceptance is very essential. can't keep pushing yourself at the same time you don't accept what is happening, then it'll divide your mind into two different parts. Consistent effort from your end with enthusiasm leads you closer towards the goal. This is what is called as tapas. This is the third niyama, third disciplinary practice. Okay, this is a disciplinary practice. Remember that you have to follow for yourself. The fourth one is svadhyaya. You're on a path of sadhana, you're on a path of yoga, you're any path of knowledge. The study of the text is very important, right? You won't know what is there in the subject that you want to pursue if you don't study it. Svadhyaya is the scriptural studies, the textual studies that you have to do. If you just keep on come and practice every single day, not knowing what is, and you don't sit and contemplate on it, you'll just be another fool on the big crowd of people. Do you want to be one? I don't think so. You sit. When was the last time you sat and read something intellectually stimulating? When was the last time you made an attempt to know and understand things that you didn't know? See, your intellect needs this. You can't let your intellect go numb and dumb. Definitely no. Some kind of intellectual stimulation is very much essential. Only then you'll feel the freshness in your, not just in your head, in your entire being. This freshness is what comes through intellectual studies. This is what I call as svadhyaya. And so you've now followed you've now implemented cleanliness. You're contented with whatever you have. You're doing a lot of practices every single day with a lot of enthusiasm, and you're doing scriptural studies. By doing all these, you shouldn't develop a sense of ego within yourself that I am the person who's doing. I mean, come on, you aren't doing anything that you have invented for your own self. You're practicing the things that are already being laid out, right? Nothing is new. Did you invent something? No. If you have invented something, then you would have been in a different plane altogether. You wouldn't have been listening to what I'm saying right now. By practicing all these things, ego shouldn't come in. You should surrender to the God that is seated within you, whom we call as, Ishvara. The fifth niyama is Ishvara Pranidhanani. If you don't believe in God, it's okay. You surrender to your own being. Saying, okay, I did all the things that I did because of you. I had nothing to do. I was just an instrument. So this is the fifth niyama. It's the fifth niyama. Ishvara Pranidhanani. I mean, you join your palms and bow down to the person who's inside you, because of whom you're alive today. This is the fifth niyama, one of the most toughest niyamas to follow. Surrendering and bowing down to yourself in gratitude. So these are the yamas and the niyamas. The first and the second anga of the ashtanga yoga. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'll try my best to answer them.